Alright, so the point of this video is going to be to show you how to turn on the ITD simulator to set it up for a typical sim session. To begin, I'll just start by introducing some of the things that we'll be clicking on. This will be the menu. This will be what I refer to as the menu for the rest of the video. Steam VR. This little box is going to be kind of the home station and the setting that lets you work through virtual reality. So the headset is going to kind of use this to connect to the computer and to the simulator. If you want to minimize the menu for whatever reason, there's no minimize button on here, so you just got to click on the bottom, and that's how you want to close it, and that'll be more helpful later. I'll show you. These are all the things that show up when you first sign in. If it's your first time signing in on a computer, you're not going to get the box like this. You'll get this window. This is the window that'll show up. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to click standing only. Take the headset off the back of the seat. You're going to want to hold it in the center of your chest. Press next and then calibrate the center. After it's all the way configured, you just press next. We sit at about 40 centimeters, so that's what we set. Calibrate the floor. Great, now you can take the headset, put it back on the back of your seat, press done, and now you can just confirm in the Steam VR box that everything's been configured. If something's wrong, it'll tell you. But if it looks like this, you're in a good spot. You're never really gonna. It always loads up with Discovery Machine. This is for Viper, but we're not going to address Viper today. That's a whole nother video in itself. So starting at the menu, the way that you're going to want to set up the simulator is from the top 4 options usually. So what you want to do is you'll want to select the check boxes next to the programs you want to start, and then click Launch Apps. So Prepare 3D, FS Flight Control, OVR Drop, and 4Flight are basically the 4 ones that you're going to want to use most often. You'll click Launch Apps, and the computer will automatically load them up in a way that they'll kind of talk to each other, because they're all third-party programs. So they weren't made to work together necessarily. So that's what the team here has done, is kind of built it up so that you can just click that button and it automatically loads. Like, do you see how it's like loading everything up? As you can see, there's like a lot of clutter. So the first thing I like to do is set up the Prepare 3D. So I'll minimize this window. This is FS Flight Control. I'll talk about that more in a second. And then I'll minimize OVR Drop. And then I'll load up the scenario. So as you can see, this big window is kind of getting in the way. I'll just get rid of it. There's no minimize, so I'll go down to the bottom, click the tab, and it'll close it out. This is FSX Flight. This is how you connect your iPad to the simulator, and I'll minimize this for now as well. So to start, you'll just want to make sure that you have the correct aircraft and airport loaded, as well as the time of day and weather. Although we're going to change the weather and time of day, and actually the airport as well, through FS Flight Control, this app right here. So really all that matters is that your airplane is is correctly selected, but then after this you could just load up in really wherever you want, because we're going to change it in a minute anyways. Okay, so now the next step is to get the iPad set up to the computer. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to start by ensuring that the computer and the iPad are on the same Wi-Fi network. So we'll start by going to the computer. I happen to know that the hardwired network at this particular sim is the same as PTN50, this one right here. So I'll make sure that my iPad is on PTN50. Click on your Wi-Fi, make sure you're in the PTN50. Click the little information bar to get there. Find the IP address and then type it in. Make sure you're on Direct Connect and not Broadcast within FSX Flight. And FSX Flight is this little window right here. If you ever minimize it, sometimes it's hard to find, so this is it right here. So it's going to be 192. Sweet. After you type it in, you can just minimize it. Go back to ForeFlight. Wait for it to load. If it shows up but says not connected, you just click into the app and make sure that it's enabled. I've already enabled it. You can go to devices. Now it says connected. You can go to maps, center yourself, and if you zoom in, I'll put myself, you can see that the ForeFlight is reporting my position through where I'm actually sitting on the runway. Right now I'm sitting on the end of the runway in the simulator, obviously. So now we're connected to the sim. So that's what FSX Flight does. Now you take OVR drop. You go back to your iPad. Swipe down from the top in the settings, and you go to the screen mirroring settings. This sim is Det24-110. That's the number that's attached to it. I'll find that on the screen mirroring. I'll select it. So now we've selected Det24 and 110, and it can see, it pops up right there. It can see what's on the iPad. We can click out of it. I'm touching the iPad right now. As you can see, it's showing up on the screen of the monitor. So you can either do this right here, leave it up, which is what a lot of instructors will do just so they can see what their student is looking at inside the headset. But at this point, if I'm looking around in the headset, I can't actually see the iPad in virtual reality. So the way that we'll put it in virtual reality is we'll go to the program OVR drop, which again, we've already opened. All these programs have already been opened because at the beginning we went to the menu and we launched them using these checkboxes. So I'll go back to OVR drop. This one takes a little bit of practice, but I'll click right here. Here, I'll make it a little smaller so that it's easier to see where I'm clicking. I'll click this little arrow. I'll drag down until, and it's kind of finicky, do you see that? And I'll just try and swipe it left so that it stops that movement. And just make sure you swipe it left when you see the window that's named the same as your iPad, which in this case is the PTN V3 F9. I'll select it, and now what I'll do, I don't know if you can see it inside the simulator. I think you can. If you look inside the sim, right here I have the headset on, and I guess you can't see it on this window, but I'm looking inside the headset right now, and I have the iPad screen is right there. Your individual tech team at your squadron is going to have to help you configure it in the best way possible for you. As you can see, it's a little bit hectic right now. There's a lot of kind of window management that needs to get done. We have big TV screens here that allow us to kind of shrink everything down. So what I like to do is go to display settings, change it down to about 150. We can still see everything in person, no problem. Now there's a lot more space for you to kind of organize the windows accordingly. So that's a basic setup on how to get ready for a simulator. As you can see, it takes a little bit of time, but after a little bit of practice and kind of figuring out how to troubleshoot some of the problems that come up, it can get done pretty quickly, assuming nothing too significant kind of shuts everything down. When in doubt, the kind of couple main rules of thumb are just, if things are just not working, just restart the computer. Usually it has to do with the fact that it wasn't restarted after last time it was used. And, I would give it a couple minutes of troubleshooting, because usually you can kind of click through, and none of this stuff is really too complicated, but it does take a little bit of digging through the settings. Sometimes just, like right-clicking on the bars down here to kind of figure out what the best option is. So anyways, okay, so that's kind of basic setup. In another video, we'll cover how to set up Pilot Edge and how to use FSX or FS Flight Control in a little bit more detail.